In this video, we're going to go over some of the differences between INFPs and ENFPs. So let's get into it. All right, so let's get into it. INFPs and ENFPs, there are some similarities, some differences, and I'll talk a little bit about their relationship as well. And yeah, lots of similarities due to sharing the same ego function. So these types, they have the same top 4 functions in their ego slot, same in the shadow, all the sides of the mind, but for simplicity's sake, their top 4, their main functions, they're in different order and different pessimisms, different optimisms, and we'll talk about that, but they are the same, and there can be a lot of similarities there, but there are some core differences in their kind of functional order, which does have a lot of effects in the world, and we'll get into that. INFPs, little note, mind temple, so in general, they're going to focus more on education. They're going to care more about credentials and that kind of thing. Whereas ENFPs are soul temple. They have more of a character focus. They care more about that, who am I? Who are you? Good character, as opposed to necessarily that educational, more mind temple type of perspective. So some similarities, both types make the kind of pursuit of happiness decisions in their life. So INFPs, FI hero, very optimistic with this. They want to do things that make them happy. They feel like that's important. They feel like doing things that make their life better is good. It's a moral good. It'll make the world a better place if they do things that are in touch with their identity and what they believe is good and right in the world. ENFPs believe the same thing, whereas they come from a slightly more pessimistic view because of their FI parent. They're a little bit more about avoiding negativity, avoiding bad emotions, as opposed to just increasing happiness. Obviously, that's kind of the same thing. But yeah, ENFPs, they definitely care about avoiding bad situations and being, in an unhappy situation as well. Both types want to do things that make them desirable to others. They care about that social desirability, about what other people want with that extroverted intuition. ENFPs, in this case, have any hero. So they're pretty optimistic about this. They like to give people what they want, wish fulfillment, be flexible, kind of be able to morph to what others want. Whereas INFPs, a little bit more pessimistic about that. They have their identity. They're very strong in it with their introverted feeling. And, they'll flex a little bit, but they're a little more skeptical of like, okay, what do these people want me to do? Why do you want that? Why do you want that? Is that a good decision? I know how I feel about it, but I don't know if I'm going to, just change for you. Whereas ENFPs are a little bit more flexible with their identity and able to change. Both want to be cared for and understood. So these types really care about being understood from an extroverted thinking perspective. ENFPs being more optimistic with extroverted thinking child, wanting to understand what people think, ask people what they think, get all these sources to really understand what's cool, for example, what's respectable, what's, people are going to think certain things of. They want to know that. Whereas INFPs, a bit more apprehensive. They feel really have a core to their identity. They feel really in touch with who they are and what makes them feel good about themselves. But, they can sometimes be apprehensive to show that to other people because they're worried it might get criticized. People might think poorly of it. And that can be a bit of a fear when they're younger. Both want to feel satisfied and at peace. So they have that introverted sensing in their top 4 functions. ENFPs a little bit more pessimistic about this. They have introverted sensing in the aspirational slot. So, they're a bit more apprehensive. They want to feel satisfied and at peace, but they're willing to change more because they have an intuition function as their hero function. But eventually, they want to develop this function, find some kind of habit, find some kind of routine that makes them feel comfortable and satisfied and organized. Whereas INFPs, a bit more optimistic. They really like to have that comfort zone. They like to have that safe space. They like to spend some time alone. So it's a slight difference in that way. And other differences, INFPs, like I said before, have FI hero, whereas ENFPs have FI parent. So I kind of went over this already, but INFPs definitely have a different perspective with that hero function. They want to be cared for. They really care about the kindness of others. They want people who are going to really, go out of their way to make them feel good. Whereas ENFPs, they're a bit skeptical. They go, okay, why are you being nice? They want people to treat them well and be kind, but they don't want to be manipulated in that way. And they're really, skeptical with that, and they're a bit more pessimistic with it, but still very grateful as well. And ENFPs a bit more optimistic when it comes to what other people want. So if it's a manipulation perspective, if somebody wants a lot of things and is really decisive and, determined, they're going to be much more excited about that. Whereas INFPs aren't going to be manipulated from that perspective. They're going to be like, slow down, stop, making so many decisions and take your time to think about it. And if we're gonna keep going in that vein, INFPs with SI child, they can really find loyalty to other people very easily. They can have faith and trust in other people really easily, and that can be a problem if they put their faith in everyone or their trust in everyone, or are loyal to people they shouldn't be loyal to, and they can have a hard time kind of knowing how to dissect that. Whereas ENFPs, a bit more skeptical with their loyalty. They're gonna be, apprehensive with that aspirational function. They want to be loyal to people, but they might be a little more choosy with select people. But same time, still a lower function, so it can sometimes be taken advantage of as well, of course. ENFPs have that TE child, so they really want respect. They want people to think highly of them. And, sometimes that can result in, frequent dishonesty. They might find when they're younger, they like to exaggerate things or, make things sound really cool so that people will think a certain thing about them, have a certain reputation, have a certain narrative laid out. Whereas INFPs might not go out of their way to do that as much, but they can still like to twist, reputation and twist things from the background and try to make themselves look good. And that's actually incorrect. INFPs don't have SI aspirational. Scratch that. INFPs have TE aspirational, which is what I was trying to say. So they do want to aspire at their reputation. They're a bit more apprehensive at first, though. So both types are idealists. These types are relationship focused. That's one thing they definitely have in common. They prioritize other people. They prioritize, the intimacy of their, closest relationships. They're going to value that. That's one of the top things they care about. They think about, they feel about, they idealize about. It's about their relationships. INFPs are background types, so they don't mind being, left alone and in peace. When they get older, they like to be able to aspire with their extroverted thinking. Sorry, got interrupted there. But yeah, INFPs, they eventually want to go out of their way to learn from other people, listen to other people, and eventually kind of understand what other people think in that way. So they do like to push themselves. But, ENFPs start out more extroverted. They're starter types. They like to start things. They're not going to always want to be alone. They want to get people involved, get things going, progress things. But as they get older, they might find that they like to spend more time alone, being organized, finishing things that they start and being more dutiful towards those things as they mature. So it's kind of a reverse path towards happiness for these types. INFPs, they have that internal energy from default, right? They're introverted feeling and introverted sensing. They can loop that, I feel good about this. This is comfortable. This is good. This is safe. I remember this. This is a good experience. This is a good experience. Whereas ENFPs are more about, this person would want this. This person's going to think that. This person's going to think this. And they're more predictive about what people are going to think. So they're much more aware of, reputation consequences. But still optimistic. So I hope this kind of explains some of the basics of INFPs and ENFPs. If you want to learn more, we have a free handbook. We have advising if you want to get typed. I do have a guide on INFPs if you go to ontype.ca/INFP. There's a lot of information, and I am still writing all of the guides for all the types, so they're not all out just yet. And if you want to learn more on any of these topics, just let me know in the comments down below, and I hope you all have a great day.